Welcome everyone. As you can read on the bottom, my name is Tamas Foldi. It is a Hungarian name. Tamas is one of the most common names in Hungary because my mother is not really she's not that creative. But yeah. Anyway, let me check if I can move some slides. So yeah, let me introduce myself. Sorry. Uh, I'm Tamas Foldi. I'm supposed to be a Tableau master, which doesn't mean anything. It's like a marketing term. What is more important that I moved here to Virginia, Alexandria with my family in last August, so I'm not even here since a year. And I try to, if I'm here for a year or two, I try to be as American in as limited time as possible. So I moved here in the suburbs. I just rented an F-150 to make sure, and I also have an American flag. So as you see, I'm trying to move, trying to do anything, any possible things just to assimilate into this nice neighborhood. We also have an office in Arlington, and our company name is Sarfima, and I'm starting to hire people there. We have actually 0 clients in this region. So the only reason why I moved here because I wanted. We have clients in Texas and in California. If I move to California, I have to wake up really early. I don't like to wake up because most of my team is in Hungary. New York is too expensive. It's not family friendly. I don't want to live in Atlanta. And not in Texas. So that was like a good, it's seemed like a good decision, and actually I do like to be here. And my company also, I was able to find one of the brightest, smartest guys in this region, so I actually really love to be here. So what we are doing, we are usually position ourselves as a boutique vendor who are doing like crazy things, and actually we're really doing crazy things for one of the best clients. We do work with Facebook, Netflix, Apple, ExxonMobil. So I would say every large Tableau client eventually finds us because we have a few really creative solutions in extension, server space, also in integration, disaster recovery. So we do a lot of things in the developer and server side, and we don't really have too much competition. I like the most because I don't feel like competition. So it's actually a good business for us. So what we are doing, we do a lot of Tableau dashboards, but actually it's pretty boring because everyone is doing Tableau dashboards, right? So let me talk about what we are doing on the server side, how we have our largest clients succeed with their Tableau server installation. And I don't know if anybody is using here Tableau server, maybe at least one Tableau server administrator is hidden here, I hope. Otherwise, it would be a very long and boring and painful presentation for all of us. So let's see, how can you survive with environments when you have hundreds of thousands of users who are always greedy and needy? How can you live when you have like 11 nodes in your cluster and there is not a single moment when you can just open a Tableau status page? You can never ever use the built-in Tableau administrator views because your server is constantly on fire. So what can you do? How can you survive with this complexity? I used to say automate, communicate, but there was no space here in the slide to try to communicate. So you have to just strongly think about communication, analyze what's going on in extent, build scripts for the gaps, because there are always gaps. Tableau server is one of the best BI tools, but they are getting enterprise ready, but there are always a few functionalities which are missing. But thankfully to the Tableau APIs, the server APIs, REST API, blah, 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 you can always add the missing functionalities which are required by your needy clients. So that's why extending and considering Tableau as a platform is the right approach. You can get everything out of the box. So let's start with the automation. That's a very nice image what I just took from there. Tableau jump start and quick start templates. So that's like what's the supposed architecture of Tableau in the cloud. And the good thing with the cloud that it started to teach people to start automating everything. So like when I was a kid, I used to press next, next, finish and watch progress bar for all of my days. So that was like going into the IT, especially in the data field. You executed a query and just check the progress bar for, I don't know, 80% if you like. But here with the cloud, everything is changed. So we don't really install any software by our hands. Everything is automated. Instead of upgrading servers, we install a new server on the cloud and throw the old one away. So it's just a much more cleaner solution. So what's the first what we advise to our clients is just forget that UI. Never ever install a Tableau server by hand. Why? Because it's boring, first of all, but it's more the biggest problem is that error prone. So if you start everything from scratch, then the installation script is already a documentation. It tells like what version you installed, what are the drivers you installed, how did you store the backups, and you just press a button and your nice multi-node cluster just provision and it's ready to be logged on. And when you do a version upgrade, you can create another cluster on-prem or cloud and make sure if it works. If it works, just redirect the users from the old cluster to the new. And eventually you can just throw away the old cluster without really installing anything. So do not install things manually because it just, doesn't really help you in the long run. Upgrades are essentially evil. So do not upgrade. Tableau, I don't know if you had anyone issues with upgrading Tableau. A lot of people had. It takes a lot of, you need to uninstall, create backup. It takes a lot of time when your system is not available. And also upgrades can introduce additional bugs. However, if you start always from scratch, and that's how you test it on your QA environment, and you install the exact same script for production environment, it will work 99% of the time in the same way as your QA. So let's see how can you automate your things. As I mentioned, there is an AWS Quick Starter Tableau template for Tableau, which is freely available. And the way how it works, like your every other CloudFormation template, you can add, okay, so this should be my IP addresses, that should be the server administrator username, that should be the password. So you fill up a form, press a button, go for a lunch, drink a coffee, and when you came back, you have your multi-node Tableau server cluster provision without logging into the servers, without installing the operations system, without drivers. Everything happens like a magic. You can automate using like CloudFormation, Chef, Ansible, Terraform. You can use anything you want. Just don't do it manually because we see it like it's just not the right way to do it. I also wrote a nice script when I had tons of time for also our stats. So whenever we test something like an integration or reports in different Tableau versions, we always ramp up Docker Tableau, a Dockerized Tableau container with different Tableau versions and test there. So who knows what's Docker containers? He knows? That's great. It's like running a tiny miniature virtual machine. It's like you can define that, hey, I want to have Tableau server 28 like this 2018 2.2. You say, okay, I want to run this server, and it will start actually building it from scratch. It will download the installation packages. It will start actually do everything from the beginning, installing the operating system, downloading the packages, the dependencies, and it will configure, and if everything is ready, you can just log on with the predefined username and passwords. So that's like one of my favorite. I did the demo, I wrote the scripts, it's time to learn what's Docker because that's the future. Communication, maybe I can show something more important or more useful than Docker containers and automation. Simply, these are like so valuable things. Communication, so what server administrators are usually doing? They pretend that they are constantly in control. So whenever something, goes down, whenever you lost, half the nodes of your servers, all of the users are continuously asking you, okay, so what's up? You have to pretend that you always know what's going on. What is even more important, that you have to proactively tell them that everything is under control. So there is like, they already experimenting some kind of outages, but your heroic work, what you are doing right now, is just avoiding a way bigger outages, and and everything is in control. So how can you proactively uh, find out your users, and how can you tell that you are in control and everything works properly? The problem is that within Tableau, there are no messaging functions at the moment, which means that if you're an administrator, you can't tell to your users like a pop-up notification or this. There is no way to tell that, hey, I have a scheduled maintenance tomorrow, or the server is down, so please don't ping me on instant messaging platform because I will not going to answer you, and I have more important things to do. Maybe save the server and not chat to you and give estimates like when it will come back. So how can you automate this, and what's the best practice here? We built an outage notification tool, which is exactly the copy of the trust.tableau.com, which is used by Tableau Online and Tableau Public. We built the same application for our clients, and like most of the deployments are using some sort of load balancers between the Tableau server cluster. And you can set up a load balancer rule that if the server is not available, so none of the Tableau server nodes can accept connections from the users, then redirect all the connections, all the requests to your trust page, where you can communicate to your clients that, hey, I'm working on the issue. So if your server goes down, there is no network error page in the browser, it's not like timeout or internal server error. Whenever there is an error, you always have a way to reach out to your users, show the incident numbers, show like what's the mitigation plan without sending out emails, because emails are not the best way of communication, especially for my generation. So how does this work? So here, this is my very nice trust page. If my server would go down, this is the screen what people can see. Actually, I changed something in the CSS, so this nice icon just shrink. It needs to be big, because if everything is okay, then the green needs to be big, so it says that everything is fine. And if I want to create here like a scheduled outage, a scheduled maintenance, and I want to reach out my clients, I can log in. Hopefully I can log in and create a new outage, like, hey, I will upgrade my storage tomorrow. There will be a scheduled maintenance, and I can start notifying my clients actually from today. So whenever someone opens this page, they can see that there is a planned maintenance. But what is more important, that if I log on to my Tableau server, I can add like a small banner on the bottom, which tells that, hey, I scheduled a maintenance for tomorrow. You need to dismiss if you want to use the Tableau server. So you need to acknowledge that you understand that the server will be unavailable at that time. This is what we found are the best way to reach our clients or users. Simply because let's imagine that you have 200,000 users and only half of them are using the server, which means that you have to send out 100,000 emails. No, actually, you have to send out 200,000 signals because you don't know who is using the server and who's not. And it's not just waste of electricity and even a large carbon footprint. It also sometimes people get pissed off because they are getting email notifications for services what they are not really using. So here you can reach out people if the portal is available directly on the portal, and if the portal is not available, then all the requests were directed to a status page. Was I understandable or not? I don't know. You are, yeah, you get it. So I'm.
So they have to dismiss that or refuse, like that's telling them.
They can live forever. They just lose like a few pixels from the screen.
Okay.
Yes, it's like very annoying, but not that annoying. So it doesn't. That's
Dismiss means I read it.
Yes.
But it really means make the bar go away.
Yes. But in this case, you can tell it, hey, I did everything for the cast, so you was notified. So yeah, but for the guys who are forgetting things in a very short period of time, we have this customer state, the cluster status, so they can access the status page directly from the WIS portal, which is a very cool way of linking additional content directly from the portal. What else do we have? So notification best practices like custom load balancer script, which means that if your server is not available, make sure that you redirect your users to a place where you can communicate with them. Eliminate emails. Like if you have a smaller company, you can use Slack, or if you're not that lucky, you can use Skype for Business to reach out to your clients and use chat instead of email. So that's how it works. For other clients, they also, yeah, so in some cases, people are using Tableau desktop and they don't really care about server, but those guys need to be reached out as well. And for that, for them, yeah, that's not the right version. We also build the same method or the same thing for Tableau desktop as well. And yeah, so that's actually I like myself a lot. So it's not a mandatory to have me there. You can add additional content. So if you don't really care about the quiz of the day, actually I don't. Except from someone in the room. That's always a difference. But then you can add the link to your internal training materials instead of Tableau paid content. So you can just utilize the right side to reach out to your users and make sure that there is like a one-way communication, so they cannot do anything to you, but you can just say that, hey, I told you. Other part is to understand the infrastructure. So usually administrators have no idea what's going on their server. They pretend that they understand, but eventually they give up. Again, if you have a lot of publishers, if you have a lot of users, even if you try to catch up with the contents, there is a turning point where you just don't know who are your key customers. So you can manage like 100 users, but you cannot manage 20,000 users. You can't go one by one to those bad users who are putting additional high, not meaningful load on your server if they are scheduling extracts without one single view or one single like not unused contents. It's like a mess. So how can you make sure to isolate the bad content and punish the bad publishers if you don't really know what's published on the server? So here's the secret: the new server logs. And I'm sure that most of you are, wake up and sleep with server logs most of the times, like as I do. The Tableau server creates a log file in a JSON format, and since 2018.1 or 2018.2, it also gives you, for each and every vSQL session, the CPU and memory consumption for the particular session. Why this is so important? It's the reason why it's important because you can quantify who are what sessions are consuming your prestigious CPU and your server resources. And you can just create some analysis. So, hey, this workbook takes 10% of my server resources, but only one guy is viewing. So probably that workbook doesn't, it has to move. So you need to end at that. But if you realize that there is like a high-profile workbook and it's used by the majority of your client base, you can leave the publisher alone. So if you have the utilization information and you have the consumption information, like who are the guys who are interacting and viewing your contents, you can create like a nice analysis to understand who are the guys who are making like bad dashboards, who are the ones who are creating slow dashboards. Are the dashboards are slow because it's running SQS on external databases, or are the dashboards are slow because they are creating CSV downloads from dashboards not designed to be downloaded. So with these new server log, you can answer all of these questions. This is like a very basic dashboard where you can see like what are the processes and workers taking the CPU and memory things. We published these dashboards for free. I can send you the link. But what is more important are these kind of dashboards where you can check the. I have to walk. Actually, I love this. I know that maybe outside from the server things doesn't look like an adrenaline rush, but for me it's like, it's crazy. So think about it. So this dashboard took the average boot time to open the dashboard is 700 seconds, and the average consumption is 208 seconds. So it's something is terribly wrong. Here, what it tells that, hey, this was the time, that was like that, the resource consumption on the server, on the computation, extraction, on the data server. And based on that, you can list all of your slow performing dashboards and see where it needs to be optimized. Is it slow because the database is slow, where it connects? But probably you don't even care. If the database is slow, it's not your job. So it's like it's not even there. But if someone creates extracts which are fully on your server and you see that it's not really used, then you can go and be the Tableau police and say, hey, your extract makes sense. You have to move it away or optimize it. You can put it into a current thing which problem equals to delete it. Anyway, so it's like a good way to do it. What we also do is quantify the consumption with the dollar value. If you're in a big organization, you have to charge backs, like getting money from the business functions to make sure that there is no free lunch. Someone has to pay the bill, and they have to pay the bill. And as long as in the server lines, for each and every vSQL session, what is the actual resource consumption, you can zoom up and say, hey, IT or HR department, you are viewing so many reports, and those reports are badly designed. So those reports making a huge impact on the servers. You have to pay 1,500, which probably doesn't hurt you, but you can multiply the numbers with 10. Anyway, so this is like how we create chargeback cost model. We check how many cores you have, what's the labor expense, what the services expense, license, and based on that, we can quantify like how many resources, or how you should create a pricing to cover all of your costs. And you can just divide it between your internal business partners, and also you can create like nice charts which explains them why they have to pay and why their reports are badly designed. And that's the way Tableau hates it, because they think that it doesn't encourage additional usage. But we don't care, because life works by money. So someone has to pay the bill. If nobody pays the bill, then they cannot. Yes. Yes, I love to hear it. Yes, so real-time proactive alerting, I'm sure everyone has it. We built also one, but what you need to check is that if your server goes down, you have to be the first who knows it, and everything needs to be automated. Don't rely on email. So Tableau has a built-in emailing functionality which sends an email if the server goes down. But if your server, completely disappears, it could happen, magic happens, then if it's not there physically, it cannot send emails. So that's why you have to do monitoring from an external server. I'm just checking the time and I have to stop. It's very hard to stop. So what about the metadata? It's like, how can you also answer questions like, hey, if I change this nice database column, what are the reports which are impacted? Or, hey, can you tell me like what are the source tables, or where this dashboard actually gets the data from the source system? So right now, to answer these kind of questions, you have to go deep. You have to build custom scripts which are taking this information from the workbook XMLs, which is not that convenient. I was in a hope that the data catalog will be released until this nice presentation, this nice user group, so I could be the first one on this planet to show the new data catalog's features to you. But you know what? It's not made into the new beta, so now I can't say anything because I'm under NDA. But for me, it's very hard to stop here. So the new data catalog functionality, and it's not me. So they will have a new UI built into Tableau server, which can give you all the impact analysis and lineage information. So even the end user can click on anything on the dashboard and see, hey, what are the calculations, what are the transformations, what are the similar dashboards, and the new server will also have an API which can return all this lineage information. So it's a pretty cool feature for the future, but right now, if you want to do lineage, or if you want to see what database tables used by what workbooks, then you have to go and parse the workbook and data source files and load it a nice format like an Excel. We also built a lot of like XML massage tools, like like everyone who are interested on how the workbook correlates with the databases. I'm happy to share this. We have also a few Tableau extensions. This looks like it's so ugly. I really apologize, but I'm lazy, so that's what I was able to do. Here, if you click on something, click on a measure or click on a mark, it will tell you what is the source of the data, what are the calculations, what's the source database column or table where the data is coming from. It's fairly cool. I will not demo to it, or will I? For myself, I mean, that's so cool. And it's using my favorite dashboard, the Superstore. So I can't really miss any chance to interact with my Superstore sales. So a few things besides the server stuff, we do a lot of customization. I forgot to mention that Tableau software is one of our clients. So actually, they are giving us money to make sure that we can improve their products. So we are doing feature development for Tableau server. That's why we are so unique partners. Other partners just selling licenses, but we are very good in selling licenses, so we have to find new revenue streams. So we are building features to them. So if I click here, I can see that, hey, this data point using the state and the sum profit. If I want to see where the state is coming from, I can see that, hey, that's the column name. If we have like a calculation, I can see the sum profit, sum sales. You can really understand what's going on, and you can also brand it to your color. And what I do like that you can drag and drop different things on your dashboard. It's a cool new feature. I love it, and that's also work with other versions of Tableau servers. And we can really help you if you want to create draggable elements on your dashboard. Anyway, how can I go back to my presentation? So how to understand your users. We made Tableau tracker extensions available from extension gallery. What it does, uh, it basically captures every interaction with the dashboard. So when you drag this extension to your server, that every click, every interaction is recorded in a database of your choice, which means that you can measure how people are interacting with your content. Are they going just downloading Excel? Are they really like spending day and night just to check your filters? And if you just trying to take, I mean, yesterday just you added a new filter and you're wondering, is anyone using my filters? You can actually check it with this extension, so you can sleep well because you know that you made probably makes no sense except for you, but that should be sufficient. So yeah, you can check the actual usage on a filter level, like who is changing what filters, what's the average, like what's the bounce time, people just opening your dashboards and closing because it hurts their eyes, or is your dashboards are really encourage interaction. So you can download it from the extension gallery. Advanced topics, maybe we are not suited for this, but let's try. I mean, yes, so offsite backups. The Tableau server backup experience is terrible. You can't create incremental backups, and if you have like a large, um, I would say, extract set, it could take hours to create backups, and it always runs on your primary node. So what we really do for large deployments is to use our own backup system that's also open source, which instead of using TopAdmin or TSM backups, it generates the backups on a different server remotely. It doesn't, and it generate incremental extracts. We also have a nice disaster recovery and multi-region replication, replicatoing. That's people. I'm not really happy to have problems anyway. So it's also a common problem that your Tableau server is consumed from Asia. Everybody hates you in Asia because your server is slow, but it's not your fault because of the network bandwidth and latency. So how can you create a multiple, multi-region cross replication with Tableau server? We also have a nice tool for that. We're really happy to share. Like we are consultants, so even if I give it for free, you will not be able to use it. So I'm actually against to share things for free. That's how the word works. After this, I'm trying to drink. I mean, but the beer off behind you. Yes. So when I'm in my beer mode, I'm really happy to answer like how these things are working. But there are different ways and strategies to create a real disaster recovery, point-in-time recovery in Tableau, but out of the box is not supported. What is also very common request is that like you create like a Tableau cluster, and there are like one C-level guy who realizes that the server is slow because it's used by other people. And how can you make sure to create like a private lane for these needy decision makers, or how can you just isolate those guys who are really doing web authoring and blowing your server up? How can you create a route or just allocate resources to different use cases? How can you say that, hey, I have an executive server and only executives can use it to make sure that these reports are opening pretty fast? And how can you say that web authoring will be only in one computer, not affecting the others? For that, we also have tools, and that's something that we are really also open source and free. So the way how we do is create another like backgrounder binding. So like backgrounder jobs can be assigned to worker nodes or backgrounder services. And the same applies like sites or set of users can be also bind to worker nodes or SQL processes. And this allows you to create a better quality of service because you have the private link for the guys who deserve it or who need it, and also the bad guys who are trying to use Tableau in its intentional way, like creating new dashboards which are sometimes taking resources. You can also slow them down just to make sure that others who are misusing the server could get more resources. So that's how it works. Uh, I'm really happy to answer any server related or specific questions. I'm not sure if I found the right, introduction point. I mean, maybe that's not the way how I can introduce myself to this PC user community. I always wanted to be part of the gang. I don't know if it's good or bad. I have a more exciting presentation about extensions, but I told that there are some server people here. So yeah, I hope there was some useful information here. I will drink beer over there. If you have any questions, I'm really happy to answer. If not, then thank you. Thank you for your attention. I mean,